Hey, what's up, everyone? Jonathan Allen here at Floodwater Studios, and we've been working on this song that Eli has written, and we've recorded it here in the studio. And today we are jumping right into mixing. So I'm going to throw my headphones on, and we're going to take a look at everything. So right now, when we're looking at the song, we're just going to take a quick listen to what we already have. Now, one of the things that I like to do is kind of mix as I'm recording, as we're building everything out, because I have an idea of the end result and I have a general idea on how to get it there at the start, so we can hear things pretty solidly. So right now, we recorded the strings and the bass part with the audio through the electric bass, and we've recorded the bass part with the virtual instrument with the contrabass. So let's take a listen real quick here to what we have so far. Okay, so the first thing is the vocals need to come up 100%. They need to be more present in the mix. So let's take a look at that here. So I've already gone through and did a quick tune on the vocals so we can get those in the correct key. Everything's pitched well, but we need to amplify the sound here. So let's take a look here. We're going to come over to our two vocal channels. Now, they need to be the same volume because they are split left and right. We don't want one outweighing the other. We want it to be balanced. So we already went through what plugins are there. We have some reverb on there to kind of fill them out in the space of the song. So let's take a look at the actual volume, the loudness that we're looking for. So we'll take a look at both. And first thing I'm going to do is up top here we have our gain. So I'm going to pop the gain up about 4 decibels, right around. So just to intensify, bring that level up a little bit, and we'll see what that sounds like here. It's certainly key, but nothing seems to wind. Not to me, that broken key. Alright, so already we can see that the volume's up. It's sounding better. We got to bring it down a little bit. Instead of messing with the gain structures a little bit more there, we're just going to use the faders. Now, I'm using my PRESONUS fader port over here. I will put a link to that down in the description. I love this thing. Tons of stuff that it can do, and I'm just getting started with it. Only had it for about 2 weeks now, so lots of learning, lots of adjustment in the studio here. But let's mess with some levels here with the fader, and we'll see if we can get it to kind of sit right where we need it to in the mix. Alright, so that is sounding, and I apologize, I keep clearing my throat. It's that time of year. A little bit of sickness in the house right now, so I apologize. But I think this is sounding pretty good here. Now, let's take a look, because there is a specific section in the harmony part that we want to produce out a little bit. So right here in the song, so that part right there, to be, we want to emphasize that a little bit more, make it a little more artistic. So we're going to come over here to the actual harmony channel, and we're going to right click and duplicate track. So when you duplicate, it sends everything over, all the plugins, any effects sends you had on there, and we're going to take this section, we've already cut it out here, and we're just going to drag this down so it's on its own track. So now that it's on its own track, we're going to mess around with it a little bit more. So we're going to take the reverb and actually bump it up a little bit. And then I'm going to add some quarter note delay to it. We're going to make these both kind of dramatic here, just for these couple little words. So let's take a listen to what that sounds like. Okay, so it's very dramatic, but it's still a little too loud in the mix, so we just got to bring the volume down a little bit, and we got to let that sit. Alright, so the delay is a little too much, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit. The reverb I'm going to bring up slightly here. And then let's take a listen, because I think we're almost there. I'm thinking that's sounding pretty good. Maybe some slight tweaks closer to the end when we get the final mix for everything, but I'm liking how that's sounding. Now, one thing that we wanted to take a look at was actually right when the strings come in. It's pretty abrupt because it's a virtual instrument. We weren't playing with the volume swell when we were recording everything, so it comes in pretty abrupt. So it's right there. And, you know, sometimes that's okay, but for this, we kind of want to ease it in. So, using the fader port here, now you can do this right on the computer, because we're just going to run some automation. We're going to write something here. So, right here, first of all, I do need to name these. So we're going to name this bass, and this is strings. So we have that there. So for the automation, what we're going to do is come down here to this box where it says auto off. And what I'm going to do is read. Just kidding. I'm not new to this. We're going to write. It's been a very long day. We're going to write some automation, because that's what I just said a few moments ago. So when we're here, I'm going to use my fader port to write it with the fader to get a little smoother of an automation curve than using mouse and keyboard for things. So let's first, we're going to bring this down all the way, and we're going to write some automation to swell those strings into place. Perfect. So what we can do is over here, if we make this channel a little bit bigger, so we can see a little more information over here, we can click this little squiggly line on the left-hand side, and it shows us our automation. Now, because we did write automation, and at the end, it takes it kind of where we stopped. If we keep playing, it will continue to write the same volume for things. So what we're going to do is, here, if you click onto your automation line, you can see all of the spots where a move happened. So we're going to take the last one, and we can see that volume is at negative 10.3. So we're going to go all the way to the end of the song, click on the line again to make an automation spot. We're going to go up here, and we have to find exactly where we're at. Alright, so negative 10.3, or right about, negative 10.7, perfect. Now, There are some other instances here where things have popped up, so we're going to highlight this one here if we can, or click that one, and we're just going to delete it. That way we have a nice solid volume across the board for things. Everything is going. Now once we've written that automation, we're going to come back down here to where it says write. This is where we're going to change it to read, so that way no matter what happens with the fader, we can move it up and down. But so say we pop it up to +2 decibels for everything, as soon as we hit play, it pops it back down to the -10.6 where it was. So we're not going to ruin anything. So we have the swell done coming into the strings themselves. We've taken care of the vocals, getting them up to level. We have the harmony section that we wanted to emphasize a little bit. Now let's take a look, because like I said, I really try to mix as I'm recording, because I know what I'm wanting. I know this is Eli's song, so he's expressed how he wants things to sound, how everything wanted to be put together, the end result for things. So I've really been cognizant on this specific session also to get everything going as we were moving along for everything. So there's not a whole lot to do for this specific mix. Also, there's not a lot of tracks here. I mean, it may look like there's an okay number of tracks here, but in the grand scheme of things, there's not a whole lot going on, and this is a very simplistic song, emotional song, but the emotions carry through with the playing and the performance more so than the layering of multiple instruments and creating something that this song was never intended to be. Like I said in the last video, and the short we made out of it, is whatever you do in the song, it has to suit the song. It has to serve a purpose and build towards the end result for something. So we have the contrabass is done. We've got that at a good level. It mixes pretty well here with the bass itself. So the bass, again, will solo this here. And then we'll add the contra. So it kind of gives it a little more synth feel to it. Really just kind of helps fill it out a little bit in the low end section of the song itself. So one thing I like to always double check when I'm working on the mixes is the drums themselves. Now these are also virtual instrument drums, so a lot of the times they sound pretty good in themselves. But we have done a little bit of shaping. So when we look into the kick itself, so I pulled up the PRESONUS Fat channel, which, like I said before, don't be afraid of stock plugins. I use these all the time. So for the Fat channel here, specifically on the kick, I did use the British Comp, and I used the Vintage EQ, which I love a lot. Vintage EQ, you can only do 4 different bands to make EQ changes, but it's very dynamic. So let's take a listen. We're going to turn off the Fat channel for the kick. We'll just listen to what the actual software instrument sounds like here. So it's got some good low end. It's got a good, punch to it. A little bit of that click sound that you're looking for in bass. So now let's pop on the compressor first, and we'll listen to see what that compressor's doing here. So just a little punchier, just adding a little extra oomph to it, help it stand out a little bit more in the mix, because we do have a lot of ambient things that are kind of happening with the EBow guitars, and even with the strings, it's just filling out a lot of space. So we want this to really be focused and really punch through the mix. And then let's throw on the EQ, and you can see I've done, it looks like a lot of movement, which it is, especially for the mids. I wanted to not make it so bassy that it's just thumping and more of a sub bass, but I wanted to throw those mids in to give more air for things and give it more life. And then the highs, we're just boosting a little bit around 7.2K, and then the actual high shelf, we're dropping down a little bit, so we're losing some percussiveness, but still keeping it pretty present for how it's recorded. So this is what it sounds like with the compressor and the EQ. So if I move the high shelf up, it gives it more energy, but it's also, you can start to hear some rattling and different noises that we just don't want to hear. So we're going to go back to how that was set up with the snare. Same type of feel here. Let's pull up. I did use Fat Channel again. I love the British comp on the drums. It really just catches things nicely and really helps just set everything tonally for it, getting everything, you know, nice and even where you want it, but you can also get some pumping if you're going for that sort of thing. But this is just the snare, no plugins. Turn off the reverb as well. So we're using a brush setting for this virtual instrument for the drums here, doing that train beat type of thing that we had a lot of fun recording. That was a lot of fun. But so for this, the compression, we just needed to kind of tighten everything up with it. It's not doing a ton of work. So if we pop the compressor on real quick, we'll turn off the EQ here. Honestly, it's not really moving at all. It's just giving some slight makeup gain, getting the volume up a little bit, and just like really, really high peaks, bringing them down just slightly. It's not doing a whole lot of work for the compressor. But for the EQ, we have here taken out some of the mids, slight boost on the low end to help with the brush sound themselves, giving it some air here on the top end just to give it a little more presence and help it sound a little bit brighter in the mix. So we have this. So as you can tell, the slight boosts and cut that we did for the snare, it's just allowing it that extra air, that extra presence, a little more energy to kind of stick out, so we can get that more audibly present in the song itself. And then just threw on some room reverb for the snare, which sounds like this. So it's not a whole lot of reverb, just helping fill out the space a little bit. Everything, we're trying to create the atmosphere for things. So we don't need to drown this in excessive amounts of reverb. We just need it to sound like it was actually recorded in a room instead of just being a virtual instrument, which this sounds really good that way. So kick and snare together. Then we throw in the bass. They all sit very nicely together. They're blended well. They're at good volumes. Everything is sounding really great when it comes to the rhythm section of this song. So we'll go back here. I feel like everything is pretty close to getting to the mastering level for this. We're not recording anything else for the tune here. Everything is what it is currently. So let's give one more listen, everything together, and we'll see if we can hear something else that possibly we may need to work on. Right, yep, I did. So, the harmony itself, I can't hear that. It's not there. I mean, it's there, I can't hear it. So let's work on that here. We do need to bring that up. So, we're not going to touch any plugins, anything. We're just going to work with the fader and bring it up to level where we want it to mix in and sit there. All right, now that we've got the main harmony up to level and mixed in, we have to take this embellished part and we need to bring that up now as well. It's not sitting where we need it to sit anymore. So let's mess with that for a second and get that to where we need it to be. I like that. Now, one thing, this harmony here was sang a little softer than the other parts were sang just tonally. So we're just going to, when you click on any of your audio tracks here, you have your box right in the middle. Now, this is also a gain setting, a gain structure. So you can come down here and you can mess with the gains here. What sometimes I do is just grab this here, and I'm just going to bump this up a little bit. You click it, and then you drag it up to make it louder for the gain. Pull it down to bring the gain down. So let's take a listen to this section here to make sure we can hear that harmony with the main vocal and that everything sounds cohesive. You know what? We're going to go back here for that. And it may be the actual lead. So if I click the up here, we're going to click on the cut tool. We're going to cut these. And I'm going to shift click to highlight both. And we're just going to pull these two up just slightly. Sounds a lot better to me. We have the main vocal still coming through, very present there, and the harmony is sitting well with that. Now, one of the last things I wanted to look at is the strings themselves, how the song ends. It will be kind of bleeding into another song on the EP that Eli's working on. So we have some things here, especially the strings. Kind of like how they abruptly started, we don't want them to abruptly end either. So we're going to fade those out. So what we're going to do is down here, instead of read, we're going to switch this to touch. So touch will allow us to grab the fader, make some adjustments, and then afterwards, when we let go of the fader, it goes right back to the volume that it was before, to the level that it was before. So I'm going to open up my automation screen here, like I did before, the little squiggly line. That way we can watch the automation be written as we're going here and get that faded out very nicely. Alright, so that's faded out well. We're going to click this back to read so that way we don't mess up anything else while we're working around here. I also heard these little cymbal swells at the end. We're going to fade those out too. We're going to help kind of tame that a little bit. So let's take a look here. Alright, perfect. So put that in read. That way we're not going to mess anything up in the future for anything. Alright, so we are doing pretty well here. The song itself feels pretty cohesive. Everything sounds good. Let's go back to the beginning of the song here, just using my fader port to rewind, essentially. And let's listen to the beginning of everything.
Are what makes us be the people we were chosen to be. Your favorite color, that old porch swing, the places that we used to meet. As I grow, my heart starts to show the places where I want to be. As long as the place I'm at with you, my love will seem. A missing string on an old guitar. You turn the key, but nothing seems to wind.
I think we're at a good place for this. I think everything is sounding pretty good. Now, one thing we can do is take a look over at our master output. We have some options for mix effects. So PRESONUS has some things put in there that essentially make it sound like it's going through a big console. So you have your Alpine desk, your British console, the console shaper, CT1, and the portacassette. One thing, they all have their place. They all sound good for what they do. We love the British console, so for the drive, just kind of gives it a little bit of grit. We normally put that around 6 o'clock, and then the character of the actual console itself, I like to push that up a little bit, about 3/4 of the way, just to give it a little something else, a little more life and analog flavor for things. That's pretty much it. Everything else that we would look at in the future, we're going to do in the mastering side of things when we get into the multi-dynamic effects, taking a look at things like that, making sure everything is nice and even. We're not peaking in certain frequencies. Everything kind of flows together for things. So yeah, I mean, this is a mixed song at this point. So We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If you have any questions or comments for us, go ahead and drop them down in the comment section. And while you're there, go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any other videos that are coming up. We are going to hop into some mastering, most likely for the next video, so stick around for that. We're going to have lots of fun kind of diving in. I am not a mastering engineer in the least bit. I am not completely trained in mastering, but I know enough to be dangerous for things. So we hope you guys join us next time. We hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
I think our flaws are what makes us be the people we were chosen